When you draft, pretending you are just talking to your friend, just like me, I'm talking to you. Pay very little attention to language. Focus on the important, which is the ideas. The ideas established in outline. You want to make it look better, that's the next step. In drafting, you pay little attention to language errors. When do you pay attention to language? You begin to pay attention to language when you start revising it for the third version. Ultimate refinements are in formatting, and the flawless or the perfection can be reached after proofreading or publication, although you do not see that. Okay, you do not see that happen. You convert from one sentence to one paragraph. How does it work? When you write a paragraph includes three elements: statement, evidence, and the conclusion. Sometimes it's called closure or concluding sentence. If a paragraph starts with a topic sentence, followed by evidence, then you have a closing sentence. Okay, let's use one example. This example, the first sentence is here. The first sentence is very important. It declares the single controlling idea of the entire paragraph, which means in one paragraph, there must be one idea, and it is the first sentence. Okay, whatever follows is evidence. Okay, whatever follows evidence. So, of course, occasionally transitional sentence precede a topic sentence, but most of the time it is the first two sentences or one sentence. Okay, so by looking at this, I will understand, oh, this paragraph is talking about the key elements. Okay, when I read this paragraph, I may say, nah, I know this already. I don't need to read this one. Then you move on to the next paragraph. You don't need to waste your time on something you already know. This paragraph talks about the elements, which includes cathode, anode, electrolyte, and the separator. You can see here, cathode is mentioned here, anode is explained here, electrolytes introduced here, and separators follows. Okay, of course, you see separators follow, separators follow. So you can ignore the body. It looks like this is the body of the supported evidence. So this is the concluding sentence. What's the difference between the statement and the concluding sentence? Okay, here you conclude that the separator is a widely used component. Okay? It is still echoing, if you look at the keyword, components, here is elements. Okay, they echo each other. Okay, in the battery, there is a battery. Okay, so the idea is topic sentence and the concluding sentence echo each other. Okay, now let's come back to the example written by University of Cambridge and the University of California researchers. The topic sentence says there are a number of analytical and chemical techniques that allow measuring the composition of this one. So basically, after reading the first sentence, I get it. Oh, they will list all the available techniques. Okay. One is online, support evidence one. Then another evidence. From this paragraph, you can see the authors skipped the concluding sentence. This is acceptable for many reasons. Maybe the page limit, Or maybe it's a continuation from here to the next one is another development, right? So omission of the closing sentence is acceptable. Example 2, figure 4 shows, I know that this is about the figure 4 now, okay? So then the body says the figure had typical errors. Single sentence. Another one is no statement at the beginning, and all the support sentences are mixed. Okay. A third one is the statement is listed at the very end. Lack of focus with more than one statement. This is an example from a published paper. Correct writing should be, you show that figure 1 shows the location, then you explain these all 6 cities. And it can be concluding with this one, all these cities. This is okay, but if you want to write more, that's another revision. Okay? But the idea is you must start with the idea of the entire paragraph rather than ending it, because if you look at here, there's no beginning. You jumped into this. You listed. You list all of them. These are the examples or evidences. If you read this paragraph, you have a similar problem. This is an article published in Science China. It's necessary to do something. You simply move this one to the top, then explain why. The authors are trying to explain a process. You see, the keyword here is a process. When you introduce a process, you introduce begins, then, or what? Okay, I'm not going to talk about language. I'm going to talk about the structure here. This should come here. Figure 1 provides a schematic diagram of the process. Then you explain the process. Okay. Make sure you always write following statement, evidence, and the conclusion. This is another paragraph my student wrote. She is working on a journal article. That's what she wrote. The primary particle with a wide range of sizes are produced in the dental office and laboratory due to materials including all this. Okay. When I read this paragraph, if it is in the outline, I mean, oh, you want to talk about the primary particles. Then I will continue explain that, but when I reached this second sentence, moreover, the secondary particles may be produced. Now, in the same paragraph, you talking about the primary, you talking about secondary. Only 2 sentences, which is a mixture of 2 ideas. To solve that problem, you need to add a cap. There are primary and secondary. Okay. Then you explain the primary is like that. The secondary is like that. Okay. Then you have a concluding sentence, both for particles or something like that. Okay. So you have this paragraph. Okay. This is a very long example I read. I cannot understand what the authors were talking about when I was helping him or her to review this. That's what I suggested. Okay. Anyway, I think we have enough for today.